well, it's the 27th of May, but it feels more like September, October. We've had a lot of overnight rain. That horrible northeasterly wind has switched to a southwesterly. Perfect timing for, you know, weather and timing for a spot of tench fishing, and it's amazingly my first session on the bank for myself. I've done a lot of guiding this May and caught my customers some really good fish, but I'm hoping to get out and do a lot more for myself in June on a much bigger lake. I'm down on one of the Yateley pits, and as I said, tench are my target today. Hopefully I can catch myself a few today. I'm in perfect position really. A swim that's been producing a lot of tench just recently. I am edging my bets because one of my rods is on my general worm kebab and the other one's on a T-rig. Now, if you don't know what a T-rig is, it's named after Tony King. He was the guy that kind of designed and started using it and brought it to the angling world. So been very effective for me. Now, I'm no master in the T-rig, so I'm not really going to run through it too much. If you want to find out about the T-rig, just put Tony King T-rig into the internet and you'll get taken to either the Tench Fishers website or YouTube channel, Gardener maybe, and all will be explained. But it's basically 2 buoyant casters, fish snowman style, and I've got a little PVA bag of casters, which again is a first for me because generally I go in and either fishing maggot over dead maggot, 3 maggots on a 16 or a 14 if I'm using, you know, maggot on a helicopter rig, or the worm kebab. Again, if you want to find out about the worm kebab, just take a look at my YouTube further down into the videos, and there's at least 1 if not 2 videos that explain that. Today I'm just going to go through some other points that are very important. Those small percentage that I put a few more fish on the bank for you, which you probably else would have ignored. So the rods are out. The alarm went off at 3:30 this morning. I'm amazed there's no other tench anglers here because conditions are perfect. Got down the lake about, I don't know, 4:30, and the rods are now out. First thing I did this morning was chop up a load of worm. Spotted it out. Actually, I don't use a spom. I keep getting those two muddled up. I'd much rather use a spod because it's quieter. There's carp anglers either side of me, so it's a lot quieter than a spom. As we all know, is everybody can hear that if someone's using it around the lake. So, and it also just gives me a little bit more spread from where it lands and backwards. It's also, in my eyes, pretty much 100% efficient. Hit that clip, lay it down, deposit that bait in your swim nice and accurately, whereas a spom, we all do it, we kneel down, we tap it on the ground, it empties in front of you, or you get one of those that's getting a bit old and it keeps opening halfway and you're just spreading that bait all over the place. So I absolutely hate them. I'd much rather use a spod for those reasons. So as I said, the rods are out, and hopefully by midday the alarm will scream more than once, or at least once. Very important is to get down the lake as early as possible. I had to use my head torch to come in the gate this morning. It was still dark, as you can see. Sun's just coming up. It's about 5:30 now, and what you'll get is a lot of fish showing about an hour, you know, from that dawn period, but more after about an hour. There's been a few tench moving, not as many as I would like, the odd one in my swim. A little bit of bubbling when that wind and ripple dies down, but it's very important. Get down early, spot those fish. As I said, I'm not really worried how deep it is or what I'm fishing over. If I can spot those fish, I'll drop into a swim, cast out, fish just rose out there to the right, a long way out, and fill that down. If I can present a bait where those fish are showing, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't have the luxury of fishing more than, you know, a few hours. So get down early in the morning, bite time 7 till 11, bait up, get those rods out where the fish are showing if possible, and hopefully the alarms will sound. Well, the rods have been out about an hour and a quarter now, and I wasn't really expecting anything in that first hour or so. Bite time is very much 7 till 11, I find, on these gravel pits, but you can nick a bite early on by getting here first thing. So generally on these sort of pits that are quite tough, I like to recast around an hour and a half. Sometime on the big pit I fish, I might leave them for 2.5 hours, but generally here an hour and a half. Those rods are coming in. I'm going to wind in. I'm just going to clip the line in the reel seat with the elastic stop knot there. If you want to know a little bit about marking up, wrapping up, etc., go into my past videos. There is one designated just for that, so you can understand what I mean by wrapping, marking, clipping. But as I said, those rods are going to come in now, refresh, just check the bait, check there's no tangles. But before I bring that caster rod in, that T-rig in, I've just made up a little PVA bag which contains casters. Now, generally when you buy casters, they're a little bit kind of moist, a little bit damp, and that is going to actually break holes in your PVA. So what I do is I just get a little bit of ground bait. This is the Dynamite shrimp and krill. I had a tiny little sprinkling into a bait box, and then I just shake my casters in there. And if you can see there, all the casters have just got that nice little dusting of ground bait, but that's taken the moisture off them. So I can actually make my little PVA bag up in advance. I can make 3 or 4 or 5 of those up if I want, especially if you've got a rainy day, and have those all ready to go. When I wind that rig in, it's going to be wet, my hands are going to be damp, so I'd like to do, you know, get my PVA bag done before I wind that rig in. I can then just, as I say, just clip up, wind it in, attach that, check the rig, check the hook point, which I'm going to go through later, and get that rig back out, because quite often if you haven't had anything in an hour and a half, let's say, there might be something wrong with the rig, but by winding it in, getting it back out, just that rig falling in the water, your little PVA bag, you know, dissolving that little bit of ground bait, maybe just kind of explode on the lake bed, or that feeder full of kind of cutworms, that juices might get you a quick bite. Last couple of weeks ago I had a customer, and after an hour and a half we said, right, let's wind in. I wound the left rod in, he wound the right rod in, we refreshed the baits, got it back out, and within 2 minutes his rod went off that he just cast out, and he had a fish a tench just over 9 pounds. So don't be afraid to wind in and recast on a regular basis. Well, I've just wound that rig in, and first thing I noticed was it did have a little bit of Canadian pondweed on. I'm not too worried about that because this rod had a little PVA bag on that went out. But what I do is I check that hook point every time, and I mean, this is where your small percentage comes in. This isn't a small percent where you're like a 1% advantage. It can be like a 50%, because if you wind the rod in, especially on these gravel pits, and that hook point has turned over, and it happened a couple of times last time I was here, and you don't check it and you cast that rig back out, then that hook point is probably not going to go into a fish's mouth, whereas a real sharp one will do. So I've just checked that. Although I'm happy with that, I'm just going to get one of these little hook sharpeners. They are a bit spongy. I think this is a Gardner one, and every time I just stick the hook point in, I just give the hook a little wiggle. That just homes that point in. Now that is razor sharp. That is sticking in mine now. So I am now really confident that if a fish picks that up, there's only one place that hook point's going, and that's in, hopefully, the bottom lip of a very big tench. So checking your hook points, even if they're new ones out of a packet and you're tying up rigs, check them, because not everyone's perfect. These are beak point, they're the Gardner Target hooks, really good hooks, size 10s. That hook point is razor sharp now. Good to go. Little PVA bag, get it back out. Well, when I got here this morning, the venue was just full of bird song. If you haven't got the Merlin app, then I recommend you kind of get that loaded up on your phone, because you can record all the bird song in the morning. this area we get a song thrush in the morning, and it's absolutely unreal if you haven't kind of listened to those. And it's just a great app. You sit there, and we had greenfinches, goldfinches, and the usual birds like the crows, the mallards, the robins. So yeah, unfortunately that beautiful peace and quiet and birdsong is going to be replaced by some building work in a minute that's going on behind. Hopefully it won't get too loud, and it hasn't put the fish off in the past, but we're coming up to having another recast, and again nothing's happening. This is now bite time. It's probably about 7:30 now, but I'm just going to run through the T-rig. As I said, just put Tony King T-rig in and all will be revealed. But it's basically a buoyant Enterprise maggot, one of these spongy ones, placed on the hair lengthwise, and then a buoyant caster. Make sure they are pop-up casters and maggots. A pop-up caster over the top, so that actually creates a T shape, as you can see there. I'm not going to do any close-ups. That goes on the hair, and that just sits above the hook like snowman style, so the hook is flat on the actual deck and the hook bait wafts above, and it kind of like it's there and it kind of hides that hook below. I'm using for the first time the Target Specie Skin from Gardner, and to make a rig up I normally cut 12 inches off. That might sound a bit long, but it's better to cut too much off and lose an inch than cut too short and then having to lose the whole 6-7 inches, I would say. So 12 inches. I then strip 3.5 inches off with, I've got a little Nash braid stripper there, be careful with that. On the hair you place your buoyant spongy maggot and your caster, and then you've just got a little bit stripped back there, about an inch stripped back, so it just creates a little bit of movement, and you've got the stiff link that then avoids tangle. So very, very good rig. It does, if you're fishing helicopter style, kind of rotate on the way in, because that T is like a propeller and it absolutely smashes up your braided hook link. So I would say fish it sort of carp, scaled down carp style with an inline lead, and this out the back end of that, so when you're bringing it in it doesn't tangle. So yep, always put a little PVA bag on, I do, of casters, just to avoid the tangling, and if it comes down in a bit of weed, those casters just explode and it avoid masking the hook. So the T-rig, something that I'm just, you know, getting my teeth into. Caught me quite a few fish last year, and it's caught my customers a few fish this year along with the worm kebab. So it's not often you see me using 2 different rigs, but on the day you can have all your fish on the worm kebab. I always work in 3, so if I get 3 fish on the worm kebab today, I would then switch the other rod to the worm kebab and vice versa. So but at the moment I think today there's not a lot of bubbling going on out there. There's very few fish moving. Big changing conditions. I put the umbrella up just to cut the wind because it is so cold. It feels like 10 degrees warmer now. I've cut that wind out. But I'm looking at the venue, reading the conditions and what's happening out there, and I think it's going to be, you know, if I get 1, that'd be good. Anything more than 1, it would be a bonus. So yeah, fingers crossed that those alarms go off, but I'm going to have another recast in a few minutes. Well, I was just winding in there and I thought, I didn't realise that there was a weed bed about 30 yards out, but this has come along. Some of these, don't know what this is, a spom and a load of orange line. So if you've lost one of those, I found it. Well, I've just made my 3rd cast. It's about 20 past 8. Nothing, no action whatsoever, not even a bleep. Not a lot moving still. The odd fish, the odd bit of bubbling, but they're not exactly going crazy. I've just brought in a spom or a spot, a red one that I caught up with on the way in. I did catch on something earlier and wondered what it was, thought it was a bit of a weed bed, but obviously not. And I also looked at the hook link that I was using, the braided hook link. I'm using it for the first time and I'm not really sold on it. It just looks a bit kinky, just doesn't look and sit right. So I've just gone back to what I know works, and that's the Corum smokescreen micro braid. £15, just 0.20 of a mil. It's not coated, but it just sits there. It's just nice and limp, and I've used it for most of my tench fishing this year, and it's worked. So if you've got something that works, why change it? But I gave it a go. I will keep playing with that that braided hook link, and hopefully there's a way of tying that up or stretching it or somehow to stop it kinking. It's taken a long time to get a bite, and I was beginning to think I was gonna blank, but left hand rod just pulled up tight and then screamed. I'm guessing the little elastic stop knot got caught in the alarm and then came loose and it ripped. So as I said, just looking at the amount of fish that was showing, it was never going to be an easy day, even though conditions would say it was going to be a red letter day, but what do we know? So just taking this nice and easy, load of bubbles just coming up over there where it's probably sticking its head in that weed. A friend of mine the other day, or a customer who came back, come on, there's a bit of weed out there, you've just got to put it through. Came back the other day and had 4, and he said he never had a bite till about 9:15, and that's what I was kind of ending up hoping was going to be the case. I've just picked that other rod up and put it right down low so I don't take it out, hopefully, although I was just coming up for a recast. It's about 9:20 now, so I am going into kind of the end of the session, but fortunately been able to buy a bite. This is not an easy venue. One fish is good, anything else is a bonus. You never know, this could be a very big fish. It's not done a lot. Big boil there. You say the first one, you always take it a little bit gingerly. The clutch is set. I've also got that back wind on, because tench tend to really rip off when they come in close. Funny old head shakes on here, but it's not a pike, I can assure you that, because it's not on the worm kebab, it's on the T-rig. This is why we come fishing. The fun is all in the fight, although it is a little bit nerve-wracking at times. They do hang on in this lake, they are healthy fish. A little bit of Canadian pondweed there, just coming up where it was burying in some weed. Come on you can hear the builders have started, where they've been going for hours now. One little bleat then, and then I saw the bobbin right close to the indicator, and then it ripped. Whoa, blimey. Tench don't normally do that. It almost came out and tail walked, that did. Please don't be a stocky carp. Please, please don't be a carp. It's not fighting powerful enough to be a carp. And I changed that hook link because I wasn't happy with it. Back to what you know works. If you know it works, really, why change it? But you never know if there's something slightly better out there that can get you an extra bite. But I've played around with rigs and hook links enough to know that an uncoated braided hook link is pretty much great when there's a little bit of weed, because it just is so much like weed. Getting close now. I can see the flying back lead and the leader. That is what we come for. It is a tench. We do fight in this lake. It is such a healthy environment here. Good fish. Good fish that. They don't look that big in the water, and then all of a sudden you put them in the landing net, you look down and you think, that's a lot bigger than I expected it to be. Shoulders on this one. Come on, you. Come on, give up, please. Say the fun's in the fight, but this one's giving me a proper run around. As you can see, inline lead, scaled down carp sort of bolt rigs. No, you don't do that. Oh, I'm struggling to get that in the net. Well, not quite. And that has got a belly on it, so that is a good fish by the looks of it. Oh yeah, that's a proper one. There you have it, T-rig. Not perfectly where I want it, in the side of the mouth, but there you can see the T-rig. I seriously do question that bright red rubber caster bird maggot, but it obviously works. That is what you call a proper one. Let's get a wade, a couple of quick snaps and get her home. Got to be honest, this wasn't such a big fish. I'd leave her in the net and get the rod back out, and then do all this once the rod's back out, just to capitalise on that feeding spar bit. This is a good fish. You can see big old belly on her, probably carrying a bit of spawn because it's coming up to that time. I've already zeroed the scales. Quick way, and that fish goes. Ooh, not quite a 9, 8, 11. So there you have it. That's what we come to the gravel pit for. £8.11 of sheer beauty. Look at the shoulders on that, belly on that. But I'm going to get her straight back. Look at the paintbrush tag on that. Going to get her back. She's carrying some spawn. Well happy with that. Well, when I was playing that fish and unhooking that fish, I mentioned a couple of things. The first one was I could see a flying back lead. This, over the last 2 or 3 sessions, are the first time I've ever used little flying back leads, and they can't do any harm, you know, they just pin everything down. I am also using leaders. We have a bit of a pike problem, especially when fishing worm here, so it acts as an up trace. Now, if you are using a leader, a lead core leader, or just a non-toxic leader, let's say, what I would say is make sure you're using 12-pound line. 10-pound line to me is just not good enough, not strong enough. You pinned everything down for about 2 foot, 3 foot, maybe more, so why use 10-pound line? Yes, it does aid casting the narrower diameter of the line, but in this case, on a lake like this, you're not casting that far. 10 wraps, 11 wraps maximum. So yeah, 12-pound line. This is 12.6, the Browning Black Magic that you can't get anymore, but I've still got a little bit to hand. So the flying back leads, yeah, I've started using those. It can't do any harm. Have I seen an upturn in catch rate? Not really, not at the moment, but it's early days. As I said, I've only started using flying back leads the last 3 occasions. So a little bit clumsier when you start casting out, especially with a leader. But yeah, if you're using, like I am, 175 rods, these are the Kevlar Fox barbel rods, lovely rods, as I say. I use them for pretty much all my specimen fishing, and little Shimano 4000s, really adequate for here, but maybe, you know, bigger pits, you need a bit more cranking power. I also mentioned about leaving a fish in a landing net and then getting the rod back out. Now, some clubs will, or people in certain clubs will frown at that, but to me, that is good angling. I can remember fishing the Godalming waters when I was, don't worry, getting the heart rate going there, when I was on the Godalming venues, and the cruising cart, when they turned up, you had to maximise that feeding spell. Get the rods back out in the water as soon as you could. So, you know, we'd unhook a crusion, would leave it in the net, pretty safe, get that rod all clipped back out there fishing, and then get your camera, your scales and everything set up. Most clubs say you can retain a fish for the time it takes to weigh and photograph a fish. So, and on occasion, as you can imagine, one of the rods would go off and you get a brace shot, and that's what I got in trouble for. People thought, certain people in the club thought I was retaining fish, you know, for longer than I should have done, which was not the case. If obviously one of the rods go off, I've got a fish in the landing net and one of the rods go off, then I wouldn't put that rod out. I've got 2 fish in the landing net to deal with, that's enough. So to me, just getting that rod back out to maximise your time and that feeding spell was is more, you know, is good angling in my opinion. Well, as you can see, the wet weather gear is on. The rain, as predicted, has arrived, and looking at the weather app, we're going to get rain for about another 6 hours, and it's going to be pretty torrential. My good mate Paul Garner's just given me a call, and I'm just going to try and catch up for a coffee with him about 12 back at my house. So it'd be good to catch up with him. What can I say, really difficult day here, but I've always said to people, when you come to this gravel pit or some, you know, just gravel pits in general, to try and catch tench just on a morning session can be pretty tricky. So I always say, if you catch one at this pit, then that's a good day. Any more is a bonus. So I'm really happy. 811 female, that's a cracking fish. I'd be happy with that any day. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sure there's a few tips in there. Hook points, get that Gardner hook doctor, just home in that point. Run your finger down there as well every time it comes in to make sure it hasn't turned over. If it has, change the rig. Really good, you know, tip to put more fish in the net, because you're not going to catch fish out there with a hook point that's turned over or a blunt hook. So if you take anything from this video, go and get one of those. They're only about a £5, and they're you know, going to give you a lot more confidence that when you do get a bite, you're going to put that fish in the net. Please make some comments on this one. I haven't covered a lot. It's really a day out fishing for me. I don't get many of those. Everybody says, oh, I bet you're out fishing 24/7. I wish I was. I probably get out once a week. First tench session, serious tench session, I did a couple of hours here a couple of weeks back in the bright sunshine and didn't get a bite, but it was later in the day. So my first real proper tench session, 6 hours, 1 bite, 1 fish. I'll take that. Yeah, please make comment on anything that I've covered today, and I'll come back. Hit that subscribe button, because that keeps the videos coming. I apologise, I've been a little bit kind of like behind on my videos, and that's all because during the month of May I've had so many customers for guiding on this pit and others, especially for tench, and I have put most, if not all of those, I've gotten bites. I think one customer was unlucky that he had 3 screamers, and for some reason he never put a fish in the net, but all my other customers have caught at least, if not 5, I think was the max in the morning here. So yeah, if you want a guiding day for tench or any other species, then email me. You can see my email address there. That's the best way to contact me. If you get in touch with me on a social media platform like Messenger, I apologise, I won't come back to you straight away, and I might even miss that. So best way is to, I know it's a bit old school, but email me. I get up in the morning, I check them every morning, or if I don't do them in the morning like this morning, because the alarm clock went off at 3:30, I'll certainly do it when I get home. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. It's nice for me just to get out on the bank and have a fish. tried a few things today, which I don't do with my customers. I use what I'm confident in using, but even somebody like me, there's things to learn, things to try out. Just to maybe put a few more fish in the net today. I probably, if I just stayed with what I knew and fished that unbraided hook link, then I probably might have caught another fish or two. But the T-rig is something you need to take a look at. It's put quite a few fish in my net over the last couple of seasons. It's something I'm just getting used to. I've got, you know, plenty of confidence in the worm kebab, but today the T-rig, I've only had one bite, but that came to the T-rig, so that shows the power of that rig. Take a look and give it a go. See you all soon.